For today's visual diary, I'm going to talk about peace and having patience and emotional peace when you're dealing with uncertainty or when things don't go as planned. When I asked you guys what you would want me to talk about, so many of you mentioned that you're just not feeling peace with things going on in the world right now or just current situations in your life. And this was actually my word for the year. Last year, one of my words was inner peace, and I was so focused last year on just regaining all inner peace because I felt like for so long I had lost all of my inner peace, and I really let a lot of people take it away from me. I let a lot of circumstances take it away from me, and it is so possible to live in complete peace with uncertainty. I remember last year I found this quote that said, "I tried so hard to keep the peace around me that I lost all inner peace." And when I read that quote, it has kind of been my mantra for everything. There are so many situations that I have gone into where I'm trying to keep everybody else happy and keep everyone else feeling good, but it results in me just losing all of my inner peace. And we are so much more valuable and we deserve so much better than just making sure everyone else is comfortable and that we're stressed out or feeling anxious. We deserve to put ourselves first as well and also make sure that we're comfortable and feeling at peace. Another really great quote that I saw was that it says, "Worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace." And I feel like that's where a lot of our peace is lost because we're constantly looking at all of these things that are happening, or we're stressing out about tomorrow's troubles or things that are just going on in our lives. And it's so easy to focus on the future. Looking forward to the future really will only take away your inner peace because you're so focused on trying to micromanage everything that's going to be happening in your future, when the reality is none of us have any control over that. God, will obviously just take over, and we can try to make plans, but he will just be like, "Nope, I have better plans." And that's something that I realized was that going through infertility for over 3 years, it was so hard because in my perfect plan, I was going to get pregnant as soon as we got married, and we would have at least 2 kids by now, and things would just look so different. But when I realized that that wasn't happening and I had to trust God and have faith, I remember being very overwhelmed with peace and just feeling like it's okay because God's plans are always so much greater and so much better than ours. So sometimes in those moments of fear and worrying, we have to just stop and surrender. Surrender was my word of the year, I think like 2 years ago. And there's a song called, I think it's called "Make Room." I'll have to look it up and link it for you guys, but it just talks about making room for God and surrendering just like everything that you have to him and just being like, you know what, I have no control over my life and that's okay, and I'm just gonna go with the flow, and just whatever happens. And when you can kind of have that mindset of like, you know what, things are going to be hard in life, it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies, but I know I'll get through it. I've gotten through other situations. It really does help to just kind of change your mindset. Another really great quote that I saw too was, "Exchange your overthinking for overwhelming peace." That says, "I can be okay without knowing everything." So once again, that kind of just goes along with what I was saying. In those moments of feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to know what's going on, or how am I going to get through this? Just tell yourself like it's okay to not have the answers right now. And it's okay to not know what's going to happen. I have to just tell myself, like, be peaceful and relax. Something that's really important as well is knowing what triggers you and knowing what your fears are, because I think all of us have fears. Maybe it's fear of not having enough, or not having money, or not finding love, or maybe it's fertility. Like, we all have these things that we're very fearful of that cause us to have our peace taken away from us. And I think that if we can start journaling these things down and say, okay, here's my fear. I have a fear of not having enough. And then really write down, like, why are you fearful of that? And what in your life has shown you that that is what your life is going to be? Because a lot of the things that we worry about really never happen. And it's just like, when you are so overwhelmed with thoughts, you kind of spiral out of control and you just start to think like the absolute worst. So staying ahead of those thoughts and having things written down, and even just trying to like figure out ways to fix those. Like, if you can say, I'm fearful of not having enough, you can write down all your fears for that, but then also write down solutions. Write down, like, hey, you know what, I could do this to make more money, or I could do this, or going to like the Bible and being like, you know what, the Bible tells me. Matthew 6:26, and then a few verses on, is a really great verse about this. And it just talks about, if God cares so much for all of the birds in the air or all of the wildflowers, like, just think how much more he cares for you. He provides for them like food, water, shelter, everything they need. And if he cares that much for birds, think how much more he cares for you. Something really important to remember about anxiety and worry and fear is that it's lies, and it's just things that are not true. And it's kind of like when someone sees a lot of potential in you, they start to get worried and they try to tear you down. And it's the same thing that the enemy will do. He'll put these lies in your head of, you're not good enough, you're never going to have enough, you're never going to find love, you're never going to have a baby, and just tries to tear you down and just take away all of the good. And I say this all the time, whenever really good things start to happen, I feel like that's always when the little bit of fear and uncertainty will start to trickle in. And I can always tell right away, like, this is an attack from the enemy. This is something that is trying to tear me down in this season of happiness and joy. So I just want you guys to try to be very aware of everything you're feeling, and just try to replace those feelings of fear with peace. And I know it's really hard to do, but after some time, you will get in the habit of doing this, and it will just come so naturally. If you have any other tips, you guys can leave them down below in the comments. But I love you all, and I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.